So hi everyone. Welcome to the Cervena Barva Press reading series. And this year we celebrate 17 years and we published 240 books of poetry, fiction, and translations. So it's a big year for us. And I just have a couple of announcements I'd like to make before we start. And that is on July 20th. There will be a triple book launch with my authors Doug Mathewson, David Capella, and Michael C. Keith. And it will be flash fiction and poetry. On July 27th, we have Kate Gale, managing editor of Red Hen Press, and Pam Yushik, editor of Cutthroat Magazine, and both will be reading from their new books. And then on August 6th, Cervena Barva Press Reads Around the World will host writers from Turkey. So our next reader is Jennifer Martelli. She is the author of The Queen of Queens and My Tarantella, named a must-read by the Mass Center for the Book. Her work has appeared in Poetry, the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, Thrush, and elsewhere. She has twice received grants for poetry from the Mass Cultural Council, and she is co-poetry editor for Mom Ache Review. And I give you Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Gloria, and congratulations on this milestone. You do so much for the poetry community. You give so much, and I'm really honored to be reading here. And Anne, thank you so much for reading those beautiful poems. They were, the language and the emotion, it just very, very moving, very moving. So yeah, Anne, I think you were much more articulate than I will be. I've been alternating between crying and screaming over the past few years. And if I start doing that during this reading, just go on without me. I'm going to be reading from The Queen of Queens, which is my latest book. And this centers around Geraldine Ferraro, who was the vice presidential nominee in 1984. She was an Italian-American woman, strong, pro-choice stance. So she faced a lot of backlash for many reasons, but from the Italian-American community and the Catholic community also. And if I have time, I'm going to read from my forthcoming, just a couple of poems from my forthcoming chapbook. This first poem has an epigraph from Geraldine Ferraro. I didn't expect the majority of the Italian-American community to abandon me in their silence. At the corner of Assunta and Camille Roads, Revere, Massachusetts, a small gray pregnant cat was lifted by the talons of a hawk. The brown and white bird carried its prey past the overgrown blue fir and the afternoon moon, which loomed like Mary's breast pressed against the sky window. As the cat flew, she watched the low pitch roofs of the new ranches, the dugout foundations, homes she would never live in. The moon surrendered itself to this tableau. The gray cat, the hawk that had never been seen before in this neighborhood, all the hunger. Weeks earlier, some boys caught that golden black snake dangling deep within the blue fir's branches. She would visit from the dug-up pond where the houses would go. They chased her until she wore out from reticulation, her long spine unable to move quick like brain waves in a dream. I can barely write this. The boys looped her into a brown lunch bag, doused it with gas, lit it on fire. The cat did not see this, and the hawk, alighting by the muddy pond, released her. She stepped from under its wing, uncertain. I still don't know if this was a dream or a memory. The cat, the black and gold snake. There was charred skin, there were tire strips, there was a laboring cat. The whole neighborhood, nascent, silent. When was my anger conceived? The summer of assassinations? By the man-made lake, a hole so shallow and muddy, all the men held hands, formed a human net and walked toward each other to the center to feel for some kid who might have gone under there on its shore in the Kodak, me in my little terry cloth bikini, all round as the moon's stomach. I'd worn a Batman mask attached by a thin rubber band all summer, my hands fisted, the nails bit crescents in my palms. The summer of my monarchy, against the lazy Susan in the kitchen, I stood watching the president resign on the small TV. I cried because of the cramps and blood, the garter belt biting me. My mother said we'd never see this again, and she was wrong. Even married to my father, she couldn't predict the depth of a man's rage. The summer of my first abortion, the clinic 3 stops down from my dorm, 3 quick stops on the green line, and no one shot there yet, but escorts needed, 1 pink set of rosaries flung in my face. That year, 1984, my aunt said she wouldn't vote for anything that menstruated, could get pregnant, could bear a child. So I'm going to read a poem that was an attempt at humor, which I'm not good at in poetry. In an interview, Geraldine Ferraro was misquoted as saying, "He is my man, he is my tomato," which is ridiculous. So I wondered what questions would have been asked to have made that answer make sense. So, he is my man, he is my tomato. Why haven't you taken your husband's name? What is a love apple? Has he paid his taxes? What fruit is not native to Italy? Who is Luca Brazzi, John Gotti, Vinnie Barbarino? What is a beefsteak, a San Marzano, a black crim? Does your husband also support the murder of babies? What fruit has meat and skin and bleeds? Has your husband ever killed a man, rented a room to a pornographer? What would you like on your burger? What fruit's bitterness is neutralized with sugar? What of your father? What of your husband's father? How did he die? What fruit was too cold, too wet for the Italians to eat raw? What does your God look like, your priest, your pope? What is an early girl, a tigerella, 3 sisters? It started out funny, but it didn't end that way. It's succulent. I want to fill a bay window with 16 jade plants in terracotta pots until they grow thick and knotted as snakes tangling in the hair of a woman raped by a god and punished by a woman. I want to tease rubbery pearl beads of asters into a rosary string, finger them, pray on them, try not to let the toxin seep onto my skin. I want to snap off a fat, oozy leaf of the aloe I kept in the middle of my blue table, rub the silm on my scalded hands. I want to grow the round, black and shiny philotaka on a high shelf away from my Maria, my long-haired cat, hide them from pregnant women who want to keep their babies from bleeding out. I always seem to want too much. I want my succulents to survive me. They can live for a long time without water, without touch. So I wrote a love sonnet to Nancy Pelosi, as one should. This is really an American sonnet. Each line has 17 syllables, so like a stretched out haiku. There is a quote, a few words that I quoted from Pelosi when she was describing the nomination of Geraldine Ferraro, and I'll do the quotes now. Nancy Pelosi's beads, 1984 to the present. She wore Eye of the Tiger, Thrill of the Fight, orange striped beads. They shone. Her tiger eyes shone. Even in the photos, they shone like a wet pelt. Tahitian South Sea pearls, spectacular, emotional, thunderous. Sky blue and gold, sky blue and gold, sky blue and gold, sky blue and gold clasped. How we see the past from the future, gold snake eggs in an owl's beak. In the 80s, we all looked like little men with big shoulder pads. Pelosi's beads so dark, they reflected how endless and orbital. I like a story that turns on itself like a wounded animal, a story that curves the way a spine curves, licks itself clean, scented, whole. Careless folk confused her mace with a caduceus. She's not here to heal. The mace she pinned to her breast held a pearl atop 13 bound gold rods. Pelosi's jade beads, Easter egg yellow beads, chaste beads, torqued her throat. Her Mariquita Masterson beads, blue black gumballs to choke a horse. She wore them around her neck like war trophies clasped with two thick red hooks. So an interesting tidbit from the New York Times, the words anger, hangnail, and angina all have the same root. They all come from the same word, which they think is Germanic, and it has something to do with constriction, which I found fascinating. I mean, hangnail, who would have thought that? I wrote this poem during, the thick of the pandemic, and I think from washing my hands so much and being inside, my hands were so rough and my fingernails were practically breaking off. I just remember that for some reason that sticks out. Root. I bought a new knife, sliced an onion through its skin, through its 16 layers. I was Sylvian and Plathian. I sliced close to the nail bed of my left ring finger, low to the lanula. This is my winter of hangnails and split nails. I spit nails. Crescent moons fly out of my mouth and across the maple wood floor, and little white knives of cartilage sprout still hinged to my skin, catch on my gray wool wrap. The root of anger is the kissing cousin of hangnail. Today, I learned that pearls without cores make the ideal sculpting medium. If you were to sculpt skulls, the skins don't crack or peel. I can never wed again. The kissing cousin of anger is angina, a stab wound to my sacred heart, the one wound with wire. My grandma said if we swallowed seeds from a fruit, we'd grow that tree in our stomachs. If we swallowed the fingernails we chewed off, our tummies would be torn open by the claws we grew. And then I'm going to read two more from this book, and then one, if there's time, Gloria, from my chap. Okay. Agrodolce. That's a kind of sauce. It's sweet and sour. at the same time. Agridoce. The whole world skewed on its iron axis. I ate a lemon from the groves on the coast of Campania, citrus so big I cupped it in my heart. I cupped it like a heart in my two lined palms, sunk my teeth into sweet pulp. Can you feel the juice as I say this? Can you feel it in your jaws, hinges, in your ears? Deep inside those warm canals, there's an anvil forging sounds, meanings hammered out. Do you wonder what people are saying about you? Do you wonder if people say anything at all? At some point, we all disappear. I had the Strega read my right hand lifeline. It crossed my thumb mound and circled my wrist like a healing wound. This is a plot as well. I asked her to read what was on my left. You are unable to avoid what you wish to. I swallowed the soft bodies of oysters that same oracular night. Their shells told a story too, a landscape. Their bodies tasted like a blue-green ocean, like a woman taken whole into my body. So I keep reading this poem, and I wish that, I don't know, it didn't make sense anymore, but this again has an epigraph. The Catholic Church is or is not monolithic in its teachings on abortion. And that was by Geraldine Ferraro in 1984. Questions to the electorate. Is a man a monolith? Can you decorate a monolith with sprigs of nutmeg, rue, pennyroyal, a garden of abortofacients? Can you grow savin, squills, ergot of rye around the monolith? Can you dig down far enough so the roots will embed? Can I rule as a monolith? Can I rule as a woman who's not had one but two abortions and is still not sad? Can I rule as a woman who is not sad at all? Can we drape the monolith with pearls, chunky fake gems? Can we polish its flat, dark marble surface until it shines like the tombstones in the Italian cemetery? Will you circle the monolith? Will you join hands with me and dance and dance and dance? And I'll end with two poems from my chapbook, which will be out in October from Harbor Editions. And the name of it is All Things Are Born to Change Their Shapes, which is a line from Ovid. America, as a gigantic woman, lay spread eagle on the sidewalk, bleeding out state after state, airless blue, deep red. The men will come with chalk to trace her shape. 3 times the country screamed. The first scream, an old car's shrill brakes. The second, a lover spat, but the country knew the man who slapped her around. Perhaps she asked for it. Third could have been a dog in heat or in want. Honest to God, it could have been stopped. Rainstorm after rainstorm barely washed the blood off this crime scene, off the hot top, off the granite, off the pitch. And then this last poem is a persona poem, which I don't write a lot. When Paul Manafort was arrested, they had like all these clothes that he was trying to sell, and they were just like hanging up, like as if he were selling them on Craigslist or something. It was just so odd and random. Ghost of the Python killed to make Paul Manafort's jacket speaks. I too began in a womb, coiled like a stove burner, got all sexy with my diamonds and my pearl belly, got all hungry, got all in love, choked the throat of a breathing thing with a long spine and crawled up from my warm hibernaculum. My babies were born and left alive as babies, and I was so gigantic, the reptile butchers, the leather workers, the jacket makers only needed one of me. Oh, how I would have loved to envelop him. Me, fork-tongued one, snake, but really, you can't split hairs these days. So now I'm a convictor. See me in the bad eBay photo. See how I dangle all unzipped from a dry cleaner's wire hanger, hooked on the jamb of a white cross and Bible door. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Such powerful work. Both of you are definitely so courageous, brave, beautiful work, and just wonderful. And I am floored by your reading tonight. So thank you so much for being here and reading.